Hello, everybody. I came on today because I specifically felt called to talk a little bit about how important it is to be in the body during these times of really important and really impactful change and shift. This is something that I myself am quite new at, and I must say that, like many human beings, perhaps you will relate, it has been something that has been quite difficult for me throughout the course of my life, given my background in trauma and some of the wounds that I suffered as a child. The sensation of being in the body, we've always been kind of told and taught as a global culture that it's painful, that it's hard to be in the body. And so my natural tendency and impulse was always to get out as fast and as soon as possible. It was partially why I started to channel, although the more that I channeled, the more that I learned that actually being in the body was the most helpful gift that I could give to myself and to the planet in the work of channeling as well as in the work of just being who I am. So I wanted to talk a little bit about that today and offer a really helpful tip for everyone who may feel disoriented, distracted, a little uncomfortable in their body at this time, because it's really a deeply, deeply transformative era that we're living in. And even though it can feel really messy and really sticky and uncomfortable, it's important for us to allow ourselves to be in it. There's a misconception that as spiritual beings, it's better for us to only be in love and only be in light and only be in the higher ascended realms of what we think our emotions should be, when actually, to be in our bodies, to feel everything, to feel the pain and the anger and the anxiety and the doubt and the grief and the guilt, they're temporary feelings. But if we don't let ourselves go through them, then we get stuck in a cycle and in a feedback loop that keeps us yearning for that perfection elsewhere, outside of ourselves. If we start to encounter the sensation of anxiety, for example, one that I myself am quite familiar with throughout the course of my life, it's important for us to actually learn how to move the energy and how to be with it, rather than to condemn it or to judge it as being an externalized version of what we don't want to feel or experience in our bodies. Because it feels uncomfortable to go through some of these deeper emotions, there's a really, really deep aspect of our psyche that tries to push them away at any tiny blip. And it's important for us to really allow ourselves to go through it. Then it can move more efficiently. Then we're not suppressing it, pushing it away. Then it's actually allowing itself to move through us, and we navigate through it much faster. So I want to teach a really helpful tip. It's something from the Karo lineage in Peru, of which I have been an initiate of and studying for many years. And though it is not originally my technique to give to you, I feel really called to offer it to you, humanity, because it is a really powerful way to efficiently move energy that is feeling stuck or uncomfortable or stagnant in our bodies, but quickly. In the Peruvian tradition and in the tradition of the Altiplano region, which is where the Karo come from, there is this sensation of each energy center not necessarily corresponding exactly to the chakra system in the Hindu belief, but specifically coordinating to different bands of energy or bands of power as they move and navigate around our bodies. Each coordinates to a different element, a different archetype, so many things to share. But the technique that I wish to share is called Hucha Michuy, which is actually opening up what would be our belly eye. Our belly eye. It's roughly equating to our solar plexus, although it really kind of encapsulates both the sacral and solar chakra. And opening this up, these eyes, these belts, are our way of navigating reality from a 360 sensory perspective, rather than just the 5 or 6 senses that we're accustomed to in the Western world. So the more that we work with these experiences, the more that we work with these bands and belts of power, and we'll talk more about that at another time, the more we can actually learn how to adequately navigate our reality with greater clarity and greater focus. So this practice of Hucha Michuy is imagining that there is a great eye in your belly and actually opening it so that you are seeing clearly all of the energy around you from your belly, and imagining that you are pulling all of the anxiety, all of the fear, all the doubt, all the grief, all the heavy emotions that you are feeling uncomfortable sitting with in your body, pulling them into the body, seemingly counter to what you would imagine we would be doing with this energy, and imagining pulling it in through the belly eye and internalizing it, digesting it, literally grinding it up with the intestinal tract. And imagine that you're grinding all the energy and then pushing it down through the feet and out of the body into the earth. And just keep doing it until you feel those energies begin to dissipate. And simultaneously, if you want to imagine bringing in just a column of Sami, of divine frequency, in through the crown, in through the head, pushing it down through the body to kind of reciprocate the energy that needs to be replenished in the field after you've moved some of the heavier hucha, then this would actually exponentially help the process. But first start with just the digestion. Don't let it get stuck in the body. Just grind it up and move it out. Now, when you're complete with this process, or when you feel as though you're complete with this process, make sure that you imagine closing up that belly eye, because we don't want to continually take in everyone else's energy around us because it's open and receptive. So that's a very important component to this process, and by no means am I an expert in Hucha Michuy, but it is a tool that I have utilized for many years that has helped me substantially move through some deep waves of anxiety, particularly, and grief, and anger. These are all human emotions. These are important things for us to feel. There's nothing wrong with us feeling these things in our body. The only thing that's important is knowing what to do with it, rather than sitting in it and letting it loop us, cycle us into a deeper spiral of pain and shame and guilt and judgment. Because it's quite easy for us as a society to judge those feelings and say, I must have done something wrong if I'm feeling this. When actually, you're just human. We're all just human. You're supposed to feel it, all of it. So, if it's feeling uncomfortable for you, take this into consideration. Practice this technique and see if it helps you move some of the energy out of your body that has otherwise really just been bothering you, upsetting you, making you feel uncomfortable, dissonant. But again, remember that it's also okay to feel those things, that that's part of the human experience, and you're still in the magic if you do. So, a very brief, although I look at the clock now, 8.5 minutes, I thought would be a very brief video on just a really powerful technique, Hucha Michuy. And again, try it out. See if it works for you. And if it doesn't, there are so many other techniques to move this energy. But I myself have found this to be a particularly potent way to imagine navigating the field of what isn't working for me or what is feeling just a little too intense, a little too much, in a really helpful and easy way. So I hope that that helps. Stay in your bodies. Stay in your bodies. We are not here to ascend out of our bodies. We're here to take our ascended self and to plug it in. The more you stay in your body, the more you will find an equilibrium during so many of these big earth changes. Pachamama, Mother Earth, is just saying, cling to me. Stay with me. I will help you navigate all the ways in which we are shaking off the old illusions, the old identities, the old paradigms, but we have to be in our bodies to navigate it. And so, from one who has always notoriously wanted to transcend my body at any given moment, to you, I say it has worked for me in a really beautiful way, and I hope that it works for you.